Rick, we have a hand up on the attendee side, if you want to check that.
Yeah, go ahead, Albert.
Yeah, hi Rick. You hear me okay?
Yep, got you loud and clear. How's it going?
Pretty good. Did you guys send out an agenda for today's meeting
Yes, we did. And it was posted on our normal PAG website.
on the normal PAG website? Okay, I'll check that out then. Thanks.
You got it. It's on the calendar section.
All right. Bye.
Yep. Glenn, saw your hand up too.
Uh, if that was for me, that was an accident. Sorry.
No, no worries at all. I just checked in. I think we'll have one more member here in a second. We can get underway. Boy, it looks like it's a November of technical difficulties. No, thanks, Bree. Appreciate it for getting nasty. And Paul Burton, I believe, is trying to get in as well. I'm bugging him on his vacation day. Hey guys, even though the slide says 9:15, I'm going to give a couple extra seconds because I know we got a couple folks working on it. See what we can get popped in. So I know we got a number 5 coming, and I'm going to hang tight to give the benefit of that effort. Folks, there we go. Got number 5 for the jurisdictions. We got quorum. I am going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. Thanks for everybody's patience. 9:17 a.m. Morning. Happy Thursday, everybody. Good to see you. Thanks for hanging in there. Most importantly, and I know this is the busy time of year, so thanks for jamming this in because we had a few items I wanted to hit upon and some critical activities I know we needed to touch on. So good seeing everybody. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick roll call of everybody. I've got Francisco, Blako, and Hal Feldman from DTM. Dion from Town of Marana, Robert Green from Pima County DOT, Glenn Robison from Federal Highways, Cheryl Hewley from Oro Valley, Paul Burton, Town of Sahuarita, Yao from U of A. And then from our staff team side, I've got Crystal, Brad, Bree, Jeff, David Mitchell, and Sue, Hannah, Dustin, myself, and I believe that's it. And then Albert Leskus is an interested party. Did I miss anybody? Like that. So I didn't see anybody pop up. Looks like
Richard just joined.
Richard Nassy just joined. Thank you. Fantastic. Okay. All right, we're good to go. And that's our group. Anybody else can jump in as they see appropriate. In-kind reporting. You guys remember this? This is where we get it to claim match time for the level of effort that we put into it. Is there anybody that's paid with Federal Highways that's online that's in this meeting? Federal Highways. Anybody paid with federal funds? Okay, hearing none. All right, next one up. Next item, this is our annual review of the safety performance projections that David Mitchell always leads us through. So at this time, I'd like to introduce David Mitchell, who is our senior transportation planner, and he'll be walking us through the projections. This is going to be an action item, so please make note of this. Any questions you've got for David at the end, we will need to take action as a committee on this. So Dave, the floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you, Rick. Good morning, everybody. Dave Mitchell here, Senior Transportation at PAG. I'm going to turn my video off because I'm on location from doing bike counts. Thanks for everybody who's participated, by the way. We're wrapping things up today. I'm here today. This is an action item. It's an annual exercise. The state does annual safety projections. They set their targets as part of a federal program. The FAST Act generated a lot of the performance measures criteria, and we're carrying it forward on an annual basis. The process is they will set the targets, and then the MPOs have the option to set their own if they want to. But the basic recommendation and the standard practice is for MPOs to adopt the state. There's that's where the feds want the level of participation at, and there's nothing for us as a region for us to set our own projections, because we do so through our long range plan, and we use those as how we track our regional performance. And the safety measures are identical in both packages. So this slide kind of summarizes all the information. We've been participating since 2018. The projections that I'm about to present are statewide figures. They include all of the MPOs throughout the state and all the regions covered through them. And they are the methodology that ADOT uses is historical data. They use a conservative projection to forecast out two projections next year and then the year following, basically because they don't have current year data for 2023, and they have to use some forecasting techniques to get that through. So that's where I think Federal Highways has left the opportunity for MPOs to set their own targets if we don't agree with their methodology. There's no red flags to suggest that we should steer away from the good practice that we've been following for the last 5 years, and for what the other MPOs in the state are doing. So basically, by the action that I'm going to ask at the end is to adopt the state projections. And what that just means is that we are just foregoing the opportunity to set our own independent projections and supporting the ADOT in their initiatives. So these are the projections for 2024. These are next year. These are based on the data sets that they have up through 2022. So that's what figures I used to establish these. You can see there's 5 different measures, and the projections are the actual performance measures are based on 5-year averages. So that's why we see 2 columns here. The first one is what they project for next calendar year. There's a total amount, and then the second column, which is the actual projection, will be based on a 5-year moving average. And this helps account for variations in VMT and in special incidents and such a nature, because it's hard to compare one year over another, because you'll see the volatility even if the trend suggests that they're going the same direction, there's the best practice each 5-year averages. And so we'll look here at the first measure. This is the total number of fatalities on all Arizona public roadways. The coloring scheme is the red values, the red bars are actual values. So those are data sets achieved from crash reports collected by local law enforcement agencies throughout the state. The yellow bars are the projected values. And so they've had to use the data sets to project. I believe they're still have some issues with some of the 2022 data. So they haven't incorporated that, those final statistic sets. And so they're still using it forecasting for the next, for the final 3 years of this cycle. And you can see the trend is severely going in the undesired direction. Fatalities are continuing to climb statewide, and that's going to continue to push their projection up, because these aren't aspirational projections. These are more forecasts. These are based on data, and what does the data tell us that we're going? So this is supporting evidence of that, action is justifiably made if safety is a priority. This is the data to support that. So that's why projections are important in this realm. The next measure is rate of fatalities. The rates are determined by VMT, and so that's why that's how that's established. These are based on the total number of fatalities divided by 100 million vehicle miles traveled, and here they also project an increase in that. So yes, we are driving more, and we are seeing an increase in fatalities at the same time. That's why we will continue to see this. If we were driving significantly more and having a slower rate of total deaths, we may not see as steep of an incline. But when you have both of them increasing, you're going to see an increase like this. Serious injuries, these are ones that are classified as incapacitating. So these ones will disable or cause serious life-altering injuries to a person. The data is suggesting that we are in a downward trend, and ADOT has conservatively projected a kind of a flatline projection going forward. And the rate of serious injuries is also determined by VMT, and similarly, they've taken the same approach for their projections going forward. We are seeing a nice steady decline in that historically, and that's continued to go on, despite the fact that we're seeing a lot of fatalities on the roadways, or an increase in fatalities. And the final measure, the fifth one in the series, this is your vulnerable users, your pedestrians, your non-motorists on the roadways. We are, to no surprise, also seeing increases in these areas. These include fatalities and serious injuries. And there's no rate for these ones. These are just the total value of what we're seeing. So if you were to look at the numbers, statewide, we're approaching 1,000 deaths on our roadways. That's the takeaway from this slide, folks. So just a reminder that this program is more of we're in many ways a passive participant. We provide the support to ADOT that they need to successfully deliver their program to federal highways. The targets, if they're classified as targets in FHWA's terminology, but they are in fact projections. The state likes to call them projections. We call them projections because they are not meant to replace or to compete with the RMAP targets that we've set for our regions. Those are the ones that we're working for, and that's where we should be turning our attention for gauging our performance as a region. So with that understanding, it is staff recommendation that we continue to adopt the state projections. And now I'm going to give it back to you, Rick, and to discussion for the committee, and hopefully we can get a motion to get these adopted, recommended for regional council to adopt. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Bud. I'll start with any questions, and then I'll ask for the action on them. Dion, go ahead.
Yeah, curious about how the rate of serious injuries is on a downward trend, and yet the rate of fatalities is on an upward trend. And I'm wondering whether anybody's done any analysis to explain that. From my naive standpoint, I would have expected them to be kind of similar in terms of their trending.
Rick, I could take a stab at that. Yeah, there's no conclusion onto why that is. There are a lot of supporting theories. One of them being that instead of being a serious injury, it has been converted to a fatality. The reason for that is cars are driving faster. The vehicles that we're driving are heavier and have more blind spots than older vehicles. There's a lot of reasons why that might have happened. The other supporting argument of the auto industry and federal policy will point towards the implementation of safety instruments. If you can stay in the vehicle, you survive. So the use of seatbelts correctly and airbag systems, child safety seats, those do make a difference. The improvements to vehicles themselves, if speed or really aggressive or a violent collision, aside from those types of collisions, generally people have been able to avoid serious injury, and so that could be another supporting reason why we're seeing that drive down. And it's also, remember, it's a rate, and it's relative to vehicle miles traveled. So if we drive a lot more than we have in the past, you're going to see it. Since there's a dividing, the number in the dividing, the bottom part is higher, increasing. You're going to see a decline in trends. That's just how that works. But there's no conclusion on what's causing it. There are a lot of supporting theories such as those. Yeah, that's a good observation, and we continue to seek that out.
Dave, I was going to say your answers. I saw the same thing that she did, but I agree with your assessment and appreciate your viewpoints.
Another quick comment. When you showed the table and you talked about non-motorized fatalities, and that was like 986, I was like, non-motorized, what does that mean? And then you explained later on that it's the vulnerable users. I'm wondering whether, maybe you're using ADOT lingo, but if a pedestrian gets hit by a motor vehicle, then it's not non-motorized. There is a motor vehicle involved in the crash. And calling it non-motorized seems to be unclear, I guess is the way I would put it.
Yeah, thanks, John. This is a federal performance measure data set. Locally, in PAG's terminology, we've separated them out and call them bicycle and pedestrian fatalities and serious injuries. The non-motorized pertains to the participant and not the vehicle involved. And in this case, these are your number of anybody that's not in a vehicle, but is involved in a vehicle accident. That is what these represent. So in the state's active modes plan, they've defined vulnerable users as pedestrians, bicyclists, and construction emergency personnel acting on scene on a roadway. So those are the numbers that we are seeing here.
Any other questions for David? Okay, seeing none. We do need to take action on this. As David mentioned, it does work its way up through the various committees, culminating with the regional council approval. We've traditionally always approved this. At this point in time, I'd like to ask for a motion from one of the member jurisdictions on this one. Based on our committee protocol, it can't come from staff. It needs to come from one of the member jurisdictions that are present in today's meeting. So with that,
I move to accept. This is Paul.
Paul, I got a motion from Paul. Paul B. motion to accept. Can I get a second?
Second from Cheryl.
Second from Cheryl. All right. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, hearing none. Thank you guys very much. We'll pass that on up to the next committees as Dave presents. Dave, thanks a million for taking the time out of this, getting it jammed in, and good luck with the rest of the bike count activities.
Thank you.
Be well. Okay, the bulk of the rest of the meeting is going to be devoted to update activities amongst all of us working together on all these different actions and different efforts. So Gabe is actually on vacation for a couple weeks, so he asked if I would summarize this on his behalf. So for safety efforts, we're right now kind of in a temporary gap, I guess. I don't want to say a lull because he's been extremely busy with the RSA program. So that's been the primary effort. There were a couple that were wrapped up through the early part of the fall before he left, and he's got a couple other requests he's evaluating to see when the best time frame on that is. So our RSA effort continues to be productive, continues to be utilized. And in keeping with his usual speech and request, it's always available to any of the member jurisdictions. So if you wish to utilize it, by all means, send the request in and the information that supports that stuff. So we are continuing to move on that. I don't believe he's going to try to put anything in place as far as an actual RSA before the holidays. But he may be doing prep work, setting the stage for in the upcoming new year, unless something urgent arises. So any questions on that activity? I think that was the big highlight he wanted me to make sure I passed along. Okay. Hearing none, then that segues into our next item, which is jurisdictional safety updates. So at this time, it's open forum. Any of the members that have anything that's noteworthy for the good of the group that you want to share, please jump in, share what you've got going, or any updates to activities in progress. You can either jump in, raise hand. I'll try to call on you if I see you. I can prompt one thing. So Robert, I think you drew the short straw from the county. Paul did send an update on the SS for All efforts. Here's what I can share, and Robert, feel free to jump in if you've got anything extra. The county has formed an evaluation panel for the SS4A request for proposals. That should be hitting the street shortly, so that will be coming here in the upcoming weeks. We have also finalized terms for subrecipient agreements, so that'll replace the traditional IGA documents. That's going to be between Pima County and then the partner jurisdictions that are contributing for the local match. And those will be going out shortly as well. So all the things that have been worked on are still in motion, still progressing and moving forward to that hopefully should be starting off sometime next year. With that, Cheryl, before I get to you, Robert, did you have anything else you wanted to add on top of that update, or did that suffice and summarize it okay?
No, you summarized it very well, and thank you for forwarding that to everybody. But yeah, I have nothing to add.
Got it. Perfect. And thanks. Okay, Cheryl.
Hi, so we're doing a couple of projects with federal money. One of them is fully funded by HSIP, and it's to put flashing yellow arrows in at 2 of our intersections for left turns. Just kind of wanted to bring to the table that one of the things that we didn't think about when doing this project and when, scoping it out was that we don't have enough heads on the mast arm. So we're looking at adding an additional head when we change that over to a yellow arrow for the one head. And so that kind of goes into the fact that the mast arms are older, so they're have the heads on the lane lines, and MUTCD prefers that the heads for flashing yellow arrows are centered over the lane and not on the lane lines.
Are you doing that full-blown upgrade and conversion with this project? Are you taking the advantage and the opportunity to replace even the not just the mastheads or add the mastheads, but doing the arms as well? Or are you just making note that, hey, if you're looking at that, be conscious that all those upgrades may be necessary?
Right. So we're still scoping that part out right now. We're trying to see if we're going to actually change out the mast arms or not. There's a couple of them that are not on the lane line. They're a little bit within the lane. So we're kind of looking that over with the consultant, see what we can do.
Got it. Okay.
We did include the fact that we have to get new controller cabinets and controllers because we don't have enough feeds in there to have it all of them hooked up. So that's one thing. But yeah, just kind of something that we didn't really think about.
No, and I think that's a good lesson learned for anybody else, not just with the federal funds or the HSIP activities, but when you're looking at those type of conversions, upgrades, I think the same logic would apply to yellow backplates. If you're playing with one aspect of it, either make note that we'll be leaving the other elements alone for the time being, or yeah, it's going to be a holistic upgrade replacement, and certainly want to make sure that the cost is incorporated. So no, great lesson learned, Cheryl. Thank you. Blake O, go for it.
Oh, I just wanted to let Cheryl know that I feel her pain. We applied for 62 flashing yellow arrows through HSIP, and it's just been kind of a disaster because we ran into the same thing where we're like, oh, we need arms, we need new foundations, now it's ground disturbing activity, now we need environmental clearances for 62 locations, which is just ridiculous. So I'm not saying I wouldn't do it again, but I would think carefully about it. So you're not alone.
No, a fantastic lesson learned from both of you guys. I admittedly that's I don't know, a lot of us would have caught that. And to what Francisco, or I'm sorry, Blake's covering, ADOT's oversight of these type of federal projects, you have a ground disturbing and non-ground disturbing. So they go into different categories. But ground disturbing is the equivalent of going out and kicking a rock. And I'm being a little flippant here, but it's definitely something to be aware of as you're looking at that if you're going to have simple foundation work, you may look at that simply, but through the eyes of Federal Highways and ADOT, that is ground disturbing. We ran into that with signpost projects, things like that. So definitely be on top of that type of stuff as you're looking at it. So
I will say I've been in the early stages talking with Gabe and Andy McGovern. I really do want to go for an HSIP to put retroreflective borders on all our signal heads. I think that would be, well, Andy disagrees with me, but I think that would be pretty easy because and we probably may pay more in traffic control than for the borders, but if we can get a decent realistic estimate, I think that could be a real, but citywide effort that is achievable.
Okay.
Yeah, Rick, so we're doing the other project and we do have environmental on that and for pedestrian path, and one of the things that they included at the kickoff meeting was that the environmental has to go out as far as the advanced traffic control because we're ground disturbing by putting posts in for our advanced traffic control. So
yeah, whatever they call those type A signs, the not mobile ones, but the ones that have some sort of semi-permanent installation.
Yeah, so like a U channel that they drive it into the ground, so it's ground disturbing. The fun things.
Yep, like I said, kick a rock. So okay, great. Dion, I see your hands up. Go ahead.
Yeah, in terms of safety activities at the town of Marana, a couple of things going on. One is, as we are replacing LED lights as part of our regular maintenance, we're making sure that we install the back plates with the fluorescent 2-inch border to enhance the conspicuity of the signal head. That's number one. Number two is we're pursuing a railroad crossing elimination grant. The town received from the state some seed money to jumpstart a new TI at Portero Road and I-10. And so we are using that money to apply for a railroad crossing elimination grant through the Federal Rail Administration. So we're looking at asking for $40 million to help with some of the preliminary planning, environmental archaeology, hopefully get into some of the design as well. And obviously there's safety benefits to creating grade separation over the railroad. It, out of necessity, would include rebuilding the TI at Portero Road because they're so close to each other. So we held some public meetings this week to educate the public. We did a boot camp, is what they called it. The federal government called it boot camps for this railroad crossing elimination program. They also had it for some other programs, these boot camps, to kind of like coach agencies that want to apply for the money, how they can be successful. So we did that last summer. They really strongly recommended public outreach. It felt kind of weird to me going out to the public without having a project, but we did that this week. We had 3 public meetings in the town of Marana, and they were very well attended. We had something like 50 people at the first one, which was in the middle of the day. We had 30 plus people at our meeting Monday evening. We had our 3rd and final public meeting last night, and we had about 40, 50 people there as well. So there's a lot of interest in improving Cortero Road, both for safety and also the operational benefits. So wanted to give you an update about that.
Fantastic. No, that's good to hear. And more importantly, I'm glad to hear. I assume there was pretty widespread support and endorsement for the project, or for a future effort to do that, I should say, if there's no real project.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was unanimous, but it was very close.
Got it. I'll take it. Perfect. Okay. Other updates. Let's see any other hands up. All righty. Nope. Appreciate everybody's update and efforts moving forward on the safety realm. Okay. Next item up then is getting into, and as a reminder, it kind of broken this out to the general communications and then the MaxView and Kinetics portion of it. So I'll start with MaxView and Kinetics. What do we got on the update for this item from the region partners?
All right, Francisco.
Go for it, Francisco. It's all yours.
Kinetic signals, everything that was in MaxView has been ported over to the cloud, and all the signals are in the cloud, but there's still no data flowing to it. We have to create some VPNs from jurisdictions to send data over to the cloud. The way the contract rolled out was that only one VPN was going to be created. So working with Q-Free, we're going to have to get some mini contracts for jurisdictions to have a contract with them to do maintenance on that VPN. And so the way we want it to work at the end is Kinetics is sitting up in a server in the cloud, not the City of Tucson's cloud, just a vendor cloud. And jurisdictions do a VPN connection from their network to the cloud, and that's how they send the signal data. So interaction with the City of Tucson would be minimal. It'd be just you sending your data straight to the cloud. You will access Kinetics via any device now. You can do it on phones, on iPhones, on Androids, computers. There's no special software needed. Your computer, it's a web page based. And we have 1,000 licenses, so all the region and a little bit of growth should be still there. And that's where we're standing. So it's jurisdictions, I want to have a meeting with the jurisdictions to talk about that VPN, but I have asked Q-Free to prepare a document, how much it would be for each jurisdiction to have support for that VPN only, not for Kinetics. We are paying for that maintenance on the Kinetic system itself. It'd just be the VPN connection. That's it.
Francisco, is that B with a boy PN or VPN?
It's a V like Victor.
V like Victor. Thank you. Okay.
Virtual network, virtual private network.
Virtual private network. Got it. Okay. Okay. That's critical. And just for everybody's information, I had shared the email contact information I had for all of you with Francisco. So Francisco, are you going to be reaching out, or do you want the folks to reach out to you? Would you like to prompt that, since we got the group here?
Well, I'll send an email so that we can
Okay.
all respond to the same email and set up a meeting that we can talk and answer any questions.
Fantastic. Okay. Guys, keep a heads up on that then, and that'll be coming your way. So.
And so also we're getting up the City of Tucson VPN connection, because that was part of the original contract. So as soon as it's in all the current data that's within the City of Tucson will be sent over. So like I'm hoping the Pima County signals are being routed to, or any data that's being routed to MaxView will be able to be routed right now as it is. And so we'll be able to see, people will be able to see the system, and then we'll work on each jurisdiction's VPN.
Got it. Okay.
Francisco, do you anticipate that IGAs will need to be drafted?
I don't, because we won't be doing anything with interjurisdiction. You would be accessing the system on the cloud. But I defer my ignorance to anybody else that thinks we need to have an IGA.
So to answer, let me see if I heard it right. So Francisco, when you're setting this up and reaching out to the jurisdictions, they would set up individual, who's the provider? What is it you said? Q-Free. So they would be setting up contracts with Q-Free directly.
Correct.
That's how the access to the Kinetics cloud works, correct? Am I saying that right?
Well, it won't be the access. It would be the VPN, which is the conduit for data. Access has already been granted via the contract, the main contract that City of Tucson has with Q-Free, but each of the jurisdictions' VPNs would be covered under that new contract.
For the data uploads, right?
Yes, data uploads.
Access is there. So Dion, as I hear Francisco describe that, I don't think it would be IGAs between the governmental entities, but it is going to be a contract then between Marana, Sarita, whoever else, and Q-Free.
Francisco, when do you think that meeting will happen?
It could happen the next couple of weeks. I want to get that information on that cost contract from Q-Free so that I can show you that.
Okay, thank you.
To play on that, you're aiming before the end of the year then easily, correct?
Before the end of the year, it's my hope.
Yep. Okay.
Francisco, do you know what kind of cost is associated with getting that contract for the VPN?
Unfortunately, I don't. That's what I'm waiting from them to see what kind of cost it would be.
Okay, thank you.
And I hope this cost going forward would be put under, PAG support for the regional system. So then jurisdictions would have a pool of money to pay for this. It's the new regional system. So,
I like that idea.
Yeah, I was gonna say thanks a lot, man. Way to couldn't spring that on me earlier.
Do we do we need a motion on this?
It's not an action item at all. In fact, yeah.
Can we set this to be an action item for a future meeting?
Yes, I opened up Pandora's box. All right.
Oh, thanks a lot, man. Yeah, I can't wait to see you out on the streets a little later this week.
Gee, I wasn't aware that you indulged in playground justice there.
These are rough times, man. The holiday season's coming around. You got to get what you can. I see.
So Francisco, I just have one more question. So, is that and I guess it's for the whole group, is everyone being included on that Kinetics? Is that all the jurisdictions are using that? Like I know Miranda had talked about before that they were going to get their own server and run MaxView themselves and things like that. So is it still like a regional thing?
Yes, this should be a regional thing, and I chatted with Paul before, and we should add Saurita to the system. Now it should be easier because you guys only need a connection to the cloud, not to the city of Tucson.
Thanks.
I'm sure that's a lot more palatable to everybody's IT departments.
I'm gonna stay quiet.
Yeah, that part you hold back on. Thanks, man. Okay. Any other questions? Any other updates on this element? I'm sorry, on this agenda item? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to then the signal communications updates. Related, but we've been keeping them as two different topics. So anything from the region partners want to weigh in on this aspect?
I'll keep going, I guess.
Yeah, you're on a hot streak, man. Go for it.
City of Tucson is a little bit closer to doing away with the SmartWave WiMAX network. We'll be moving everything over to cellular, like we were talking about. We're still waiting from vendors to send equipment. It's supposed to be middle of November with the last shipment of equipment, and then we'll start replacing stuff. I guess we'll plan for a future replacement network for this cellular. The city of Tucson is viewing this as an interim step, and then we'll see what fiber or other wireless networks we can do.
I'll jump in if that's okay.
Dion, let me. So, Francisco, if I'm understanding it correctly, the future of what the ultimate long term, you're saying that's still up in the air, whether that's going to be a fiber, wireless, or combination thereof. So this was meant to replace the SmartWave system, upgrade it, but it's still not the ultimate end vision. Am I saying that right?
That is correct. The cellular networks don't provide enough bandwidth
Got it.
to use the system at Liberty. We're getting a lot of more requests for video from the police, and I'm sure our jurisdictions might get the same. And so we'll need something that can support a big bandwidth without a big cost.
Wireless,
maybe,
and or fiber. Okay, thank you for that education. Dion, thanks for the quick question and follow-up, but go ahead, the floor is yours.
So I reached out to Jay. I don't see Jay on this meeting or any from ADOT, but I reached out to Jay last summer. I understood that ADOT was putting conduit and fiber along I-10, and we had an interest, we being the town, to take advantage of some of that. So I reached out to him about how we might be able to do that. Kind of a little bit late. We're not able to put our own conduit in, but I believe that ADOT is going to find it acceptable for us to be able to utilize a couple of their fibers in the system that they're adding. And they may already have an IGA with ADOT, I'm sorry, with the city of Tucson to do something similar, but I wanted to mention it in case there were other agencies who could use this fiber that ADOT is installing to support their traffic signal systems.
So if it's going up the I-10, is it just I-10 or would it be down on I-19 down in Saurita that would affect Paul, or over on 77 that may benefit Cheryl and her team over in Oro Valley?
I don't know. That would be a great question for ADOT. My understanding is that they have an initiative to improve connectivity throughout the whole state, and their intention is to kind of go along their freeway system. So, and maybe Paul knows more about it. I see he has his hands up. Let him answer.
ADOT put in not too long ago a whole lot of blue stake requests for the entire length of I-19 where they were plowing to install fiber. So it's going, my understanding from talking to ADOT staff was that it is going all the way to the Mariposa Port of Entry.
Got it.
That is correct. And the city of Tucson will be actually getting a lot of fiber, especially since we manage their signals within the city of Tucson. So we're getting some fibers and all that network handed over to us when they're finished with it. But the connection will be all the way to Nogales.
Okay.
So Paul, if you want to have your own conduit, you want to get in ahead of it. We missed that, so we're going to accept some strands. But if you want your own conduit, you might want to start looking into that now.
You mean our own conduit running up to a hub in the Tucson area?
Yeah, or wherever.
Yeah, I think we're just going to, when we get ready, we're just going to lease some strands from ADOT.
Okay.
Okay. Any other updates, questions, comments on this topic? Okay, I don't see any hands up. Make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay. All right, our last one is update on the retro reflectivity standards. You remember this came up over the spring, and a small group of us were looking into this and kind of how to adopt the standards, what we want to do, practices, protocol, that. So we've been meeting fairly regularly on this, been making good progress, and actually have draft protocol that we're reviewing, testing, discussing within a couple of the member jurisdictions that are working on this to make sure that we've got kind of some good guidelines to go along with this. So we're going to do a check-in meeting sometime probably in December. The intent is to bring this forth to this group targeting the January meeting. So we wouldn't try to jam a meeting in December unless there's something urgent, but go ahead and pencil in our normal Thursday slot in January. And if everything holds up, that's when we think we'll have something ready to unveil and share with everybody for comments, feedback, discussion. So Dion, Hal, Cheryl, anything you want to share on top of that simple update or add to it?
Good job. Thank you, Rick.
Yep. So everybody go ahead and block out the January slot for a meeting, and then we'll keep that as our placeholder and confirm as we get closer, obviously. So, okay. No other questions. Alan, Cheryl, you're good on that summary? Okay. Like I said, today was mostly the main intent was definitely to get the approval for David for his efforts going forward, and then share all the updates just to make sure we're keeping everybody up to speed on what things are going on. So any last closing questions on any of the topics we've covered today? Dr. Nassi, go ahead. Are you there? Okay, and come back to you. Cheryl, go ahead.
So I just wanted to check in with Dion. We're gonna meet about the yellow and red times for the traffic signals. Is that something that we were gonna eventually bring to the TSS, or?
Yes, we are doing that. And Rick, I apologize if it seems like we're going behind your back. Bob was concerned. Bob and I have been meeting to talk about regional values for clearance and change intervals. And he was concerned about he wanted people to not feel like they have to be careful what they say due to the public meeting nature of the PAG meeting. So when we come up with our recommendations, we will bring them to the whole region. But we're basically getting everybody on board before we announce it.
Nope, that's fine. If you, Dion, if you can do me a favor, if you're the one that's kind of leading this, in advance of the meeting, if you can shoot me so that I can include an agenda item, and that way we'll make sure it stays, that way we've got it fully covered. So whenever you're ready and set and have a meeting identified, say the word and we'll get that added in.
Great.
Okay,
Will do.
perfect.
Thanks.
You got it. Cheryl, that took care of your question?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Dr. Nassi, you are ever able to?
I'm unmuted now.
You're
Thank
good.
you
I
very
got you
much.
loud and clear. Go ahead. What's your
Okay.
question?
The meeting is at 9 o'clock, January the 18th, and
Give me 2 seconds to triple check that. January, come on, you. No, it's the second Thursday of the month, so it'd be January 11th.
oh, okay. Just for your information, that's when the MUTCD committee is meeting in Washington. I know Gabe and I will probably not be able to make this PAG meeting then.
Okay. I'll have to see how other committees, because we've kind of slid in between several others that wind up using up the other days. I'll keep you posted on that and I'll make note of that. If there are options, I may look at doing a simple reschedule for that one. If not, we'll have to figure out a way to phone you in or however that works out.
Oh, thank you very much. Whatever's convenient.
You got it. Okay, thanks for that update. All righty, Dion, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Dr. Nassi if he has an update about when the new MUTCD will come out. I keep hearing end of the year. Is that still on track?
Basically, no one seems to know when it's going to happen. There's a hope that it comes the end of the year, but hope springs eternal, Dion. I wish I could give you a better answer.
The meeting on the 11th of January, is it related to this new MUTCD coming out, or is it unrelated?
It is the standard set date for the MUTCD, and it is hoped that the new manual will be released by then.
Thank you, Dr. Nassi.
I wish I could help you more, guys.
Certainty in government, gotta love it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's all I'm seeing. Anything from any of the team members on the PAG side? I'm not seeing any other hands. Guys, looks like we're square. We're good. Thank you all for your patience. Meeting adjourned at 10:06. Have yourself a fantastic one. Enjoy a good long weekend. Take care. And thank you all very much as always.
Thanks,
Be good,
Rick.
everybody.
Bye.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.